It's a pleasure to meet you for this interview. We'll be asking you 12 questions today. Before entering our main questions, could you please introduce yourself?
Hello again to everyone. It's very nice to be here with you today. My name is Slawomir Morawski, and I'm a football coach and analyst from Poland. I was born in 1990, so currently I'm 34 years old. My football career currently is like a 12 or 13 years, so I started pretty early. As a person who's never been a professional football player in a country like Poland, it was very difficult to enter professional level of sports industry and sport occupation. But throughout my studies, which I can talk a little bit more later, university degrees and passion for football, like you mentioned, my footballness project, sharing football insights with people, brought me a chance to show and prove my skills on the professional level of football. Mainly, I'm occupied by developing a football intelligence, which means every action that takes place on football during the game is based on the decision-making process of aspects that can be developed through the analysis. That's why I'm using video analysis and insights to improve football players, and that's basically what I do these days.
Thank you. The second question is, what inspired you to pursue this career and how did your educational background prepare you for this path?
Actually, my personal story was not very easy because after high school, I didn't really have an idea like what should I do in life. So I just decided to enter some management studies with my friends at the university here in Poland, in Wrocław. But I quit relatively quickly because I just realized that, hey, this is not something that I would like to do. Afterwards, I started to study English degree and become a teacher because I started to feel more and more that I would like to work with people. I would like to work on the educational ground and help others to become better. But after 6 months, I dropped again. So I started to study sports management and coaching. I felt like this is something I would really like to do. But I knew that without professional background before, it will be very difficult. So I started to write a blog. Why? Because I felt like in Poland, football education is not really well developed, and I should start to study from people of Western countries like UK, Germany, France, Portugal, Spain, Italy. So I wanted to find some way of communication with football environment, with football community. And actually, it was a jackpot because it was connected. Blog became more and more popular, and I started to focus more and more on the individual basis of how to develop sports people, football players. I started to focus more on human beings, your decision making, your conditioning, the things that how your cognitive processes work have a direct impact on the quality of your actions when you play. This started to be something unique. I received feedback from coaches from Benfica, from Frankfurt, from Midtjylland, from very good clubs, that actually this individual approach can be a game changer in the near future. And that's how it happened. I finally found something that was not obviously waiting for me after high school. I rather decided to take a path to create some specific role for myself and give something unique to the football business, basically. And I think that was a little bit of luck, but it was never my purpose of doing these things, like to pursue the career. I just wanted to become better in what I do. And anything that came afterwards was just a result of the process. It brings a lot of satisfaction when you see that a person that you're working with is actually becoming better in what they do and it's having more fun and joy from football because every football player started to play football because it was fun, it was joy. So this kind of passion, I think it's a one and only condition that you always need to have. If you have this spark inside of yourself, this flame, this fire, then you can really move on through all of the difficulties that sports industry have in you.
So next question is about Mindfootballness project you started. So what prompted you to start the project? And also please tell us what you have gained from this project and what you have come to know through it.
When I started it, actually, the number of the content online to support the educational process of the players was very poor. Since I couldn't find anything to help my players to show them, like, if my player asked me a few times on the training, how can I take on 1v1 in attacking. I was explaining, I tried to show him, but I couldn't find any good video analysis on that aspect. So I thought like, okay, I will make one for you. This is exactly how it started. My Footballness project is basically a project that gathers many football enthusiasts, coaches, and players. On the professional side, it's a project to work individually with the players to analyze their performance individually. Currently, with the individual analysis, the players that are based in Poland, we also meet on the training ground to have training sessions. But everything started just because I couldn't find enough resources to help my players. And actually, when I stopped training players on the grassroots level here in my hometown in Poland, I stopped coaching. I had like, let's say, a crisis a little bit. But I said like, okay, I will keep on developing this blog because I see many people are interested in that. But back then, you couldn't even find the software to edit the videos. I don't know if any one of you have seen my clips online, but I know that, and many people say that the graphical design and the quality of details is very good in that because I highlight the vision of the players. And I got thousands of questions already from people saying, hey, what analysis software is that? It's great. It's not analysis software. It's Adobe Video Editor. So when I make an analysis video this day, I'm not using any dedicated football analysis video software. I'm still using the same software that I was using 9 years ago. It was very difficult path, but I was very happy seeing that people responding to that positively, and I was able to learn from others. I remember the head of analysis in Benfica told me once, we can do the similar things in here. There are clubs that have resources to make the same videos, maybe even better, but your eye for the detail is sublime. Your eye for the detail is amazing. And back in the day, I wasn't even working in football. So for me, it was like, okay, being just a random guy in Poland and suddenly speaking to the head of analysis from one of the biggest clubs in Europe, I was like, wow. I asked him, why are you talking to me? And it was the same with coaching education director from Belgian Football Federation, the legendary person from coaching education. I asked him also. He said, knowledge has a value only when you share it with others. And this is what you do, and this is why I want to do the same with you. So we are good friends up to this day also. We keep on talking about football. He came to Poland to the university when I was also lecturer of the University of Football Analysis. And everything happened so quickly, like coming from totally random person, working with kids, to working with a Canada national team head coach, and then to working in extra class in 1 year. So for me, the things happened really quickly. I remember like it was yesterday. I was going to have a coaching session with children. It was winter, November 2017. It was 2 months after I started my Footballness project. And I received an email from a person that had a signature like a Canada national team head coach. He called me from Canada saying, hey, would you like to work with me on improving the player profiles and individual analysis for the Canada national team? I like your videos and I want you to do these videos and analysis for my players. That's where I started to believe like, okay, if I just wanted to help my players and then I wanted to get some feedback from the football environment. And I'm not taking this feedback from my colleague coaches, but from people from professional football. Then I'm going to give it my all. I will give it my best to continue working. Networking was also a very important aspect for that. Without networking, I would never be able to expose my work to the people that had a real influence on hiring me.
Next question is, your project Mindfootballness has gained a lot of traction in social media. What inspired you to start this project and how do you see it impacting the future of football coaching and analysis?
Yeah, actually the response from the social media was very positive, and it also gave me the feeling like I should keep on doing that. I even remember in 2018 or 19 someone stole my Facebook account and I was very depressed, but then suddenly my phone started to go crazy and I was like, hey, what's happening? And it turned out that someone hacked my account and stole the fan page. So I said, okay, I will just go following the Twitter. I heard from my friends from England and US that the best football content is being on Twitter. I started to work on these days mostly Twitter and LinkedIn. LinkedIn turned out to be also very important networking aspect of that because LinkedIn is like Facebook for professionals. But if I ever had an opportunity to work It happened only through LinkedIn. But of course, when I was having the interviews and I mentioned like my social media, because I wanted to get more recognition abroad and learn from countries that have a little bit different football culture. And thanks to that, every player that I'm working with now is also from social media. So I never found a club from the social media, but the players, they are very popular on Twitter and Instagram. Sometimes they drop me messages if I would like to work with them. So I think social media these days, when our work, even the way we meet today, is possible through the internet. So we can have a good app. It's really connecting people from the same environment and the same interests. If it's gonna change the future, I think it already did, because I received so many messages from coaches from all over the world and players from all over levels of football. I think it had some influence, but the only thing I'm not proud of it, I'm just very thankful, because also without these people who supported me when I was unemployed, but I keep on posting on social media just to gain attention, feedback from them was very important for me, and I made few really lifelong friendships thanks to the social media and the work that I shared. Because many people were, hey, Slawomir, tell me one thing. You could have a website. You could sell the video, sell the services, and make money. Everything you post is free. People are stealing it. I was watching your video on the UEFA course in my country. Do you know that? I said, no. Did you sell them the video? No. So why are you doing that? Because it has a good influence. It's something that I never had when I needed it. So now I'm doing these things and I'm posting it for free for people to have it. And eventually for me, instead of making money on the videos, then making friends and connections from professional football is way more important than making few bucks on the videos. Yeah. Because maybe thanks to that, people from my current place knew me for a very long time. They were following me, they were watching me how I develop as an analyst, and after so many years they gave me a chance to work. I treated social media as an investment, to be honest, and that's more important. So sometimes big figure from football education sends me a picture saying, yesterday I was in Toronto, today I'm in London, we are having our coaching conference, and I will use your clips and I will mention your name to these people. So there will be someone who will do that. And this person invited me for UEFA course in the Royal Belgian Football Association to have a lecture on football intelligence. And the participant of the course was Vincent Company and coaches from the Premier League. So having a chance to talk to them when they ask me questions, I would pay every money for the opportunity. I think the influence of social media is important. If you start to make advertisement of clothes, people will just unfollow. I didn't even want to promote analysis software. But people were asking me, but we are from football. You can just get a discount, you can make a video with our tools, get money, make a good video, and everyone will be happy. And I said, no, I will just keep on doing my things. And I'm very persistent in that.
Of course, we want to ask some questions about coaching and analysis. So you have your own ebook that you have written, right? In the book, you mentioned the importance of cognitive processes in football intelligence. Could you please provide an example of like how a training session could be structured to enhance these cognitive processes, and also what kind of situations do coaches put the players in to challenge their football intelligence?
When coaching others, the biggest risk, the margin of a mistake, is something that we call a cognitive dissonance. It basically means that the external factors and the context that player is experiencing during the training session is different from the conditions that he experienced during the game. And basically this kind of dissonance will always be more or less present because the game has competitiveness. You're playing in a professional level. You are playing to achieve the result, and you are being judged by the performance and the result that you bring through the game. Something that is the coaching nature, the challenge that it puts in front of the coaches and the players is the correct amount of simulation of the game-related moments. Many coaches can give them some boundaries within which they can act and decide, but at the end it will always be the player that makes decisions. So in this training session, after warm-up, some isolated drills so players can feel the ball, can feel the surface, can feel the pitch, can catch up a little bit with the flow. We always should create the sessions. So that's why many coaches are designing sessions also based on the analysis. And that's why this analysis process is very important because it gives us context that we should recreate with our training solutions.
In the book, you also mentioned that feedback is an essential component of learning. In terms of feedback sessions, how would you structure it to ensure positive and actionable insights for players?
So the first direction that we should consider is post-match performance analysis, which means if there was something that was not necessarily working well in connection to our game model, in connection to our main point of reference, we should have our identity, right? We should have our playing culture. Let's call it philosophy of football. Many people like to call it like that, like it's our philosophy of the game. So our post-analysis process means if everything worked well, if not, then we need some time for correction, for improvement in these areas. Afterwards, when we start to prepare for our next game, we use analysis to create a reference. And the most important factor is intensity. And that's why analysis and during this training process is so essential. Because what is the point if we make 4 trainings in the week? Intensity will be like 50%. Some players will not be too aggressive because we need to avoid injuries. The space will be a little bit too much, so we are more comfortable on the ball. We have time. These days, every player can be a good player if you give him enough space and time. Actually, sometimes when you don't have enough space and time to make an accurate decision, then we are entering the area of emotions. And the stress-related things are also the reason why players make mistakes.
So I'm going to ask you about the football tactics and also training method. So given the evolving nature of football tactics, how do you stay ahead of the curve in developing innovative training method?
These days we have a hybrid midfielder, which is John Stones, and you can see that some teams are defending in a 4-3-3, and I noticed that the best teams are doing that. Some players need just some specific structure. Now, more important, position profiles, which means if specific characteristics of your player have an influence, have an ability, because as I mentioned before, coaches want protagonists. I would like to have a creative player. Now I'm working more in the recruitment, which means I'm using my individual analysis to find good profiles on the players. And let's consider a situation. You are looking at 10 players on the same position, similar profiles. So how can you know which one is the best of them? Which player is the one that is actually fitting in your system, in your philosophy? And that's why this kind of profiling and recognizing identity is more important. Players want to know that answer, like what do you do good, what do you do wrong. So that's why in individual analysis, how is more important than what. We can have these tactics and catch up with it, watching the best players. And watching the best players is also a part of individual development, which is always aim for the good examples. But maintain your own identity in your profile as a player. If I would answer the question in the most simple way, is actually following what's happening in the best level of football. Of course, sometimes it's impossible to replicate that one-to-one to your own environment, but it's about recognizing some specific parts and call it the tools.
So next question is about your approach to emphasize football intelligence and cognitive training methodologies. Could you share how these strategies have evolved throughout your career and how they impact a player's performance on the field?
It's all about forcing players to be able to process bigger amount of information in a short period of time when playing football. I often say, what is the biggest problem for you when you play football? And he said, I wasn't fast enough in my head. So that's why I always try to provoke players. What is the problem? And they give an answer. So usually when we analyze, we are focusing on 10 seconds. What do you do as a player? 10 seconds before you receive the task. Good players are scanning, searching for information from their environment when playing. In 10 seconds before receiving, 4 to 6 times they scan. They try to know what's happening. And by building these habits, I will not go too much into the details, but I want to mention that working with the younger players is easier because they don't have these strong habits. But players that are already professional and they build identity and skills on some specific habits, this kind of change is a little bit more demanding and it takes more time for the players to change it. Small detail makes a big impact in the game. Detail is what makes a difference between good and bad, or maybe should I say good and the best.
As a tactical analyst and coach, you have worked with different leagues and a variety of teams. What creative tactics or analysis methods that significantly changed the team's play style have you introduced or encountered?
When I was working in Switzerland, we were one of the very first teams that were playing with 3 center backs and 1 holding midfielder in front, which gave us very big dominance in the aspect of possession tasks. But many teams also started to defend deeply against us, and that was perfect example of why individual profiles were so important. Because basically, when you are facing the opposition that is passive and doesn't really want to get the ball as soon as possible, is not pressing high, is not giving many spaces and gaps for you to progress through, then you need to be very, very smart as a team. This is also an aspect of individual development for the strikers, which means you are appearing in the field of vision of your defender to give him a sense of control. But when the ball is moving, you try to penetrate the blind zone. And these kind of things are constantly developing. Of course, let's say like the base remains the same. Because having 11 players, the amount of the different systems that you can create, maybe if you would like to play 9 defenders and 1 midfielder, but nobody does that. There is a limited amount of options that we have. But tactics these days is definitely more related, came from maintaining the structure. So these things are definitely changing, and what comes from it, it gives more freedom for creativity for attacking players in the final third, and I think that's why we can witness some brilliance from the players like Messi, Kylian Mbappe, Erling Haaland. We can witness some special individuals, Phil Foden, the players that can have their freedom in the key moments of the game. So some coaches are leading the process to tactics, and the structure is more in the build-up phase. In the creative phase, they give more freedom, and in the finalization phase, like in the final third, closer to the opponent box, there is total freedom and creativity. Now tactics means more you are basing on the concepts and rules than some specific recreation of the schemes. Players try to one-to-one copy and pass some specific behaviors and movements. Meanwhile, nowadays, football is so intensive and decision making is so important that coaches understand that and they give a little bit more freedom to the players in the specific areas of the pitch. So the routine, like already prepared solutions, are important only in opening, building, and creating environment.
Also, do you have any advice for those dreaming of becoming a tactical analyst? Please tell us about how a tactical analyst conducts data collection and the most important skills or qualities for a tactical analyst.
I see that the bigger clubs are being managed like a big corporations. It means actually there are people that are specified in some very specific areas, and management of analysis of the data is all about creating a correct structure. So there are needed people with analytical mind and very good deep eye for detail. In the past, everyone asked if you wanted to be a coach, everyone asked you if you play football. Arrigo Sacchi, the legendary Italian coach, said, I didn't have to be a horse to be a good jockey, to be a good rider. Lead by that sentence. These days, when you enter Twitter or some social media, you can see many content creators, people with very good eye, with very good mind. Laptop coaches. There started to be a trend a few years ago when there was a boom on the social media. People started to write many blogs, introducing many interesting stuff, creating great videos, collecting data, etc. So answering the question, we have external services as well. There are companies that are delivering very detailed data. Individually, as a team, they can collect it, they can create a good storage for it, and they can create algorithms that are visualizing this kind of data. At the end, with the video analysis, we need to go hand in hand because we need to know the environment that these numbers are created. Also, we need to check the data in the aspect of the environment. If we are bringing a player from another country and this player is really good, have decent numbers, his numbers are like a top, let's say a Premier League club. And we need to watch this game, this opposition, the pitch quality, the stadiums, watch the video and understand the context and write the report on that. So working as an analyst these days, you can feed yourself in a few different departments. You can be an analyst in the coaching staff. For example, you will prepare the post-match analysis. To do that, you need to know the game model. You need to know how you play, how you work, etc. On the other hand, you can go as a recruitment analyst. You know the profiles of the players from the team, but you watch all the different players from different countries, and you need to know how to transfer these details to all environment in the club.
Looking towards the future, how do you perceive the role of intelligence and decision-making development in the evolution of football? Do you believe there are any new technologies or methodologies that will revolutionize football training and analysis?
1000%. We are entering the era of artificial intelligence and VR training. And this software insight is like you are looking from the perspective of a player, like you are playing football in the virtual reality. And every scenario in that game, in that software, was recreated by the real life situations. And actually, this cognitive tool is testing the eye movement and head movement and scanning. So definitely, not only people recognize that the cognition and decision making is what makes a difference in football, but they are also using the modern technologies for the favor of that. Even in Poland, there is something in one of the biggest academies and biggest clubs in Poland. They installed the thing called Skills Lab. And Skills Lab is a company that they create a separate room, like a gym or like a cage, and there are like projectors like in the cinema. You see some specific points, you see the goals and the goalkeeper or players are running. In the corners there are cannons that are shooting the ball to you. So you need to recognize when the ball will come from. It puts a light on it, so then you're receiving, and then on the other side of the wall there is a player and you need to pass the ball to him. In the past, Benfica was one of the first ever places that had it. They call it Benfica 360 because it was focused on developing 360 degrees vision of a player. Because in the modern football, the blind zone is what creates the difference. These kind of tools are very important in improving the cognition.
Can you tell us about the work you're currently doing specifically? And also, please tell us about the ultimate goal of your journey and the reason for it.
Currently, I'm in the Bolton Wanderers football club in League One in England. I'm trying to implement my skills for the best of the club to bring the earned quality of the players because English football is very intensive. I think it's the most intensive football country ever. Analyzing the players that are our potential targets, and I try to use my skills, my eye for the detail. That's it. I need to know our game model. I need to know our profiles of the positions. Ultimate goal, I think it's already happening. People are getting better thanks to me. People are getting more interested in football thanks to me. Every time my player scores a goal, I'm achieving my ultimate goal. I would like to win a World Cup. That's my ultimate goal. But it will probably never happen. But I'm okay with that. If we can get promoted to the championship, it's also going to be my goal. Also being here with you, sharing my story and helping you and having nice conversation is also very nice. It's influencing people. That's my ultimate goal.
Thank you for the answer. Before we end up, we have some individual question about it. And first of all, as you mentioned earlier, there are many external services, and I also saw your YouTube clip, Mindfootballness, that you're analyzing some Korean national football team, Japanese youth player, and Barcelona. Could you tell me about some external services that you're using right now to analyze players? Because you cannot record every game.
I'm not very active with YouTube because YouTube is very difficult to do the copyrights. These days, providing social media content, writing a blog, or making video analysis, the copyrights is something that bothers many creators. Sometimes you can find a game on YouTube. This is how I started. I was searching the website when they were having an option to download the recorded games, and it was okay. But these days, downloading the videos from these external services that provide you with the video footage is risky. I know the list of countries when uploading the video footage is okay and it's not being restricted by law, it's not being deleted. But this is something we need to be very careful. It was very important, and I always try to mention that it is educational material. Like this is not something I make money from. If you did it these days, it used to be the instant voice code. Many different external services with the video base of football matches. Then you need to be very careful. I'm very careful, and I try to be always careful, cautious of mentioning that it's educational video. Then it's okay. But for social media, it's a challenge.
What would be the first step that you would recommend to those people who want to develop their career as a football analyst? Would it be like writing blogs or even like making videos? Or do you have like any other steps that you would recommend?
Actually, the most important is to be detailed and authentic in what you do if you try to share something with others, because these days it's a very big challenge. So basically, you can approach the one area of sport from many different angles. And I think if you find something that truly inspires you, because if I would feel not inspired by football intelligence, I would just quit it. You need to be very authentic in this process. So if you want to start a social media, it's like you need to create a new virus that will infect people. You know, they will try to support you, get in contact. I still get the messages from the people that they want to make a call or they are starting to work as an analyst. How can I help them? I always agree. I always say, okay, let's make a call. You found a niche, you specialize in it, you believe in it, you are being inspired by it, then I'm sure it will work out. And I'm sure it could. But if you want to build your career and use social media for different purposes, it's better to have a smaller amount of viewers, but with a better quality for yourself as a person who tries to pursue the career in sport.
As I remember, you have met some South Korean players and the players who went to K-League, Korean Football League. For the South Korean players, is there any differences with other players, such as like play style or like understanding about the tactics? And also for the players who went to Korean Football League, I'm curious about how they think about the Korean football leagues, about like tactics or cultural for the football.
Actually, there is a big similarity to military service. This kind of approach of a little bit discipline in the sports education. I think Korean players are very hardworking. Korean players are well disciplined. They don't have any problem with a healthy lifestyle. You know, sometimes players, when they make money, they start to misconduct themselves a little bit. But Korean players are hardworking and they are very dedicated to their football mission, to their football development. They have a problem with adapting, not only to the football itself, but everything that happens around football. Sometimes the harsh truth might be Chinese league, Korean league, Japanese league, Asian league. By European players, it's being considered like they pay very well, they pay better than in Europe sometimes. So I will go and I will be a star. These times I'm already past. When Chinese Super League was paying millions, they were bringing some Salami and some players from Manchester, PSG, and very good clubs.
I want to ask if there's any differences working as a football analyst in the Western country compared to Asian countries.
I have a very good friend. He's like a brother to me. He's now working in Bolton FC in K-League. We have different approach. He's like a theoretical freak. He is a person that tries to close everything in the theory. Like he has an answer of everything. He knows what will happen next, and he knows how the system and things are working. Meanwhile, I'm a person that is oriented on the individual side. And sometimes I say, okay, this structure looks great, but if this player will be a little bit late, it's over. So we are feeling into each other when we are working, cooperating. We are learning a lot from each other. And actually, working as an analyst these days, it can be differences even between the clubs in the same country. I'm in Bolton now, and I'm working like that for the first time in my life, even though I was working for the last 5 years in a different clubs. I was doing something a little bit different. Being an analyst means you are capable of adapting to different expectations. In Polish clubs, more and more coaching staffs are like 25 to 30 people. In Korea, I think they have like 8 people or maybe 10, 12 people. So this is the difference. It means if you don't have more people as an analyst, sometimes you need to combine 2 or 3 things. Meanwhile, in Western countries, they want you to be very specific on what you do. So in Bolton, there are people who are responsible for post-match analysis, set pieces analysis, individual analysis, data analysis, scouting, and recruitment analysis. This is like a corporation. This is the difference. But it will change because it also changed here. When the club will be more ambitious, they will want to invest more money in people.
So that's all we want to ask you. Listening to what you have shared with us, we are very impressed with your career and your unique experiences. Thank you for the insightful interview. Best wishes and have a great day.
감사합니다.
감사합니다.
Thank you. See ya.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.